This episode of Radcast Outdoors is brought to you by PK Lures, Bow Spider, and High Mountain Seasonings.
Fish on! Hey, Radcast is on.
Hunting, fishing, and everything in between. This is Radcast Outdoors. Here are David Merrill and Patrick Edwards.
Well, good day, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to Radcast. We're here again. I'm super excited because this time we have a co-host in the studio of Patrick Edwards. Hello, Patrick.
It's good to be back. How are you?
It's good to have you here. We definitely flounder without Patrick.
Oh, come on now.
I tell everybody he's the host and I'm the co-host. So, but we're back from Alaska. If you checked out our last episode, I'm still reeling from the fact that I have to go to work every day. So, but
although we wore ourselves out pretty good up there, didn't we? We worked it hard, man. Like we put a lot of effort in.
So yeah, it was a good trip. And if you guys are listening to this one, please go back and listen to that one. So we will keep you informed and up to date on all the good stuff. There's some seasonings and some recipes going on. So, and finally today, we've got our sponsors that we need to thank real quick. We've got PK Lures, Bow Spider, and High Mountain Seasoning. And thank you to all those sponsors. We couldn't do this without it, and we're really glad to have them on board. All right, everybody. Finally, this has been a long time coming, but we have Caleb with Sheep Feet on the podcast. Hello and welcome, Caleb.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good to finally meet you and have you on the podcast. We've been looking forward to sitting down and hearing a little bit more about Sheep Feet. And I guess just for our audience, since they, maybe haven't heard of Sheep Feet or don't know what it's all about, can you give us a quick overview of what Sheep Feet is and kind of what your company does?
Yeah, so Sheep Feet, they're a custom orthotic. A lot of people will look at it and they'll think, oh, this is an insole. And likewise, mirroring that, the price tag on a custom orthotic is a lot more expensive. They're about $250, but it is a custom orthotic, which means it's a corrective device. So if you were going to go to the store, you get a brand new pair of hunting boots, you're super stoked, you buy yourself an insole like a super feed or anything, right? You throw it in your boot. The difference is that's like a size 9-10. They're just making it off a generic shape. So what we're actually doing with a custom orthotic, we're taking an impression of your foot. We pour it with plaster so we get a replica of your foot. And then after we have your exact foot, we make sure that it's in completely level position, the correct position for the body. So you're not rolling in, rolling out, you're at level. And then we're going to heat press a supportive, it's more rigid, a foot frame. But the reason we can do that is because we know exactly every shape of your foot. So then it's very comparable to say I just shot an elk and I got to pack this out 3-4 miles or more on my backpack. Well, a frame pack compared to a pack without a frame into it. And it's the exact same thing for our feet. So the orthotic's going to be that supportive frame right to your feet. It's going to be hugging it, and then it's going to cut down on a lot of fatigue, preventions of injury in the future, and a lot of others. Makes your boots 100% custom boot system, and you just move it around from boot to boot. It's pretty cool.
How'd you come up with the name?
Because sheep are awesome. So I don't know. It was just pretty simple, like thinking of our feet when we're hunting. Like sheep go everywhere. They're just awesome. You can see them in the craziest places. Same with goats, but sheep feet sounded a little bit better than goat feet. So sheep feet's what we went with.
I would agree with that statement. I think sheep feet sounds a lot better than goat feet.
Yeah.
I was curious about how did you get the idea for the product in the first place? I mean, what was the impetus that was like, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to make this product?
The product was, we've been doing this. So a little background, my grandfather was a podiatrist, which is a foot doctor. And my father did not want to do all that schooling. He liked working with his hands. So he became an orthotist. He went back to the Chicago School of Podiatric Medicine, trained for about 3 years in manufacturing orthotics, and then came back and started his own orthotics lab, manufacturing them for doctors all across the country. And he's been doing that for about 40 years now. So it wasn't like I was coming up with any crazy new product that hasn't been coming up with. Orthotics are pretty much, they're a proven device that doctors have been using for a really long time. It was more, I saw a huge need in the hunting industry, because I've never really had foot problems or had a boot that didn't fit my feet. It was just always comfortable. And I always heard people complaining about their feet and boots. And then it kind of dawned on me. It's like, well, I've been wearing my orthotics ever since I was little, and they're always comfortable. I just move them to my new pair of boots. Like, everybody actually needs this with the weight that we have on our back, compounding things with our feet. So it was just one thing. It's like, hey, Dad, I'm going to do this. Let's do this. Let's take it to the hunting industry. They already understand pretty much the concept of a frame, and there's a huge need. So that's what we did. We switched over to the hunting industry. We're exclusively making them for hunters now, and it's a blast identifying with the community and the people that we love.
So I'm going to agree with you that, because I now have a pair of sheep feet, and I'll agree with you that I've never had knee, hip, boot, feet problems, right? And I got turned on to your company a couple years ago and got my first pair. Now, where I'm going to disagree with you is you said you can take them from shoe to shoe to shoe. That gets really annoying after a while. So you just buy another pair like I did, so that you can have one pair in your everyday shoes and one pair in your boots.
I know, it's funny. Everybody ends up doing that. Like when we're at shows or whatever, and we tell them, like, yes, you don't have to buy multiple pairs. Like, that can get expensive, but like, you'll probably end up purchasing another pair down the road because you get sick of moving them from your different boots and your different shoes. So it's something that everybody ends up doing down the road, most likely, and it's pretty funny. Some people have like 6 pairs of them, and they're just not willing to move them. And he's like, I want more. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I could see, the need for it. I mean, if you're a hunter, obviously a hiker. I mean, I was thinking about it before this show. Like if David or I shot an elk 4 or 5 miles in and we got to haul that sucker out and our feet are killing us, that's not going to be a very fun experience. And so it was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense that you would focus on hunters in the outdoor space as like kind of the prime area for your marketing campaign. So can you talk a little bit about like how long you've been in business and how long you've kind of focused on that one area?
So we've been in business for a little over 3 years now. And we have just focused on the hunters. And like you said, because it's that one thing, if you're already on a hunt, some people have spent their whole lives budgeting for a hunt, and your feet are going to be the first thing that cuts you short on a hunt. And if you're going to start having foot pains without weight on your back, and then you're going to put weight on your back, it's just going to compound problems. More injuries are going to happen. So we've been doing it for 3 years now, and it's been awesome because it has been a huge need in the hunting industry. And to be honest with you, in just everyday life in general, like a lot of our hunters are just average working Americans, hardworking Americans. So whether they're in construction or they're on their feet doing sales or whatever it is every day, that's been probably some of the biggest benefits, to talk with some of them and hear how much it helps give them more comfort throughout the day when they never thought they'd be able to achieve that. So it's been kind of the overview of 3 years, but we have been doing it a lot, making orthotics for 40 plus years for doctors in the family. And we just make them out of better quality materials, lighter than doctors will pay for.
And I'll have to concur there. Is the reason I got the second pair is I've found a bigger benefit at trade shows all weekend, especially when we're indoors on a concrete floor, having my sheep feet insoles in my shoes. But then when I want to go on a weekend hunt or go get home and want to run around, I forget to take them out of my shoes and put them in my boots. And then when I put them in my boots and go to the next trade show and I leave them at home because they're in my boots, then I get pretty frustrated. When I both times need them, they're not in the right pair of shoes. So for me, it just made sense to have one in my show shoes that I work in all summer, and then one in my hunting boots. And then I don't have to worry about where they're at. So getting that next question is, how'd you get your start into hunting?
I've just hunted ever since I was little. Like my grandpa was a huge hunter, and then it's a generational thing. It's a lifestyle. So my dad obviously grew up loving hunting. So he hunted. And then for us growing up, it was the same thing. It was just hunting and doing all those different things. We grew up mostly waterfowl hunting. We did big game hunting, not as heavy as we're into big game hunting now, but a lot of waterfowl hunting that was kind of our jam. And then when I got into my teenage years, then we were able to start getting into big game hunting a lot more when my dad could take us. So just always done it. All I've ever known.
So I would just kind of piggyback onto that. What's your favorite style of hunting?
Oh man. So mule deer hunting, mule deer are my favorite. Like that's my kryptonite. I'm from Utah, so we don't, if you know, anybody that's listening knows Utah is pretty insane for elk hunting. Like it takes a long time to draw a tag. And once you draw it, you could be 15. I think I have like 18 points right now for elk hunting. So mule deer hunting every single year. I love mule deer hunting and waterfowl as well. Goose hunting, we love that. Me and a couple of my buddies, we travel a bunch of different states, and once we hit December, January, we go crazy. And then before that, it's big game hunting, but mule deer, that's what I love. That's what I know the best. I guess I should put it that way.
So have you got to use the bow spider on one of your mule deer hunts yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've thrown it on, I use it on my day pack a ton. So if I'm going in for a stalk or something, I just take my light day pack and throw it on there and rip over. That's where I really like it the most.
And I've got to go to a lot of trade shows with you, Caleb, and I started Bow Spider about the same time you started Sheep Feet. So Bow Spider is one of our sponsors, and it is a little self-serving of me, but there's a lot of guys out there like you that just have them and love them, right? It's like my Sheep Feet. I tell everybody all the time, I take my shoe off and show them like Sheep Feet, and they kind of look at me like, are they really worth it? So what does a pair cost?
So you're going to be right around, depending on we usually run sales every few months. But you're going to be right around $250 with like a 10% off discount that you can find from different influencers or people that rep us. $250 is usually pretty average. That's the fully loaded one. And it really just comes down to how you fit your boots. There's two options that people will generally have like a little bit of a hold up on. It's the cushion thickness or the heel stabilizer. And it just comes down to on the cushion thickness, single cushion is for if you fit your boots tighter, true to size, you go with that. So we don't jam up the toe box and start getting blisters. If you fit them a half size big, double cushion. And the heel stabilizer is just if you want additional support with your ankle or you hunt steep, nasty, uneven terrain. Pretty much it, dude. That's how much it costs. Two simple options to pick between. And if anyone ever has any questions, we tell them to just reach out to us.
So how does that compare, like, for somebody who's maybe getting a custom orthotic at a doctor? Because I know when I was a kid, they were not cheap back then. So I'm assuming they still aren't very cheap comparatively. So what's the difference?
Yeah, they are still not cheap. I mean, doctors will charge anywhere from $500 to $1,100 for one pair. And that's legit just because it's healthcare. So a doctor could charge whatever they want for it. So the difference is we have designed these specifically for hunting. So like I said earlier, they're thinner. It's our own special foot frame that we've manufactured. It's a special type of composite plastic. So it's still going to give you some flex. So if you're going with a pack on, you're going to have some flex. It's not going to be really, really hard. And the cushion is top of the line, pretty much as good as you could get on the market right now, open cell cushion. So we're just making them out of thinner, lighter, more durable, higher quality materials than a doctor will charge, and trying to cut that down to a fraction of the cost so that just the everyday person can realize, hey, I can get a pair of orthotics, have them, and they're going to last me 5+ years. And so over time, they're a lot cheaper than even just an off-the-shelf insole.
And so to piggyback on that, I mean, obviously, like you said earlier, the one thing that will cut your hunt short in a hurry is your feet hurting, right? Like that takes a lot of people out of the game really quickly. So if you were to just kind of give the audience advice as far as not just orthotics, but the kind of boots they ought to maybe be looking at and some of the other footwear, what would you recommend?
Yeah. So I guess to start off, there's not a bad boot company that I have found on the market yet. So we've tried lots, and we try every boot company. Every year we rotate through couple different pairs of boots to try them out. Almost all the boot companies are awesome. Nowadays, you're going to get a good boot for what you're looking for. But probably the biggest thing is for people to start buying a boot based on what type of hunting and what environment they're going to be doing. I hear and I talk to a lot of people on the phone, and they just talk about how their feet are killing them. This will just be one example, and it's like, okay, what boots are you wearing? And it will be like a Scarpa, right? And like a 5 out of 5, just like a really aggressive sheep hunting boot, very rigid. And it's like, oh, okay, well, what are you hunting? And they're like, oh, I'm elk hunting. Okay, what's the terrain like? And they're like, well, it's mountainous, but it's more like rolling, covering lots of country, ridge lines, not super steep. And it's like, well, you need to probably dial back on your rigidity of your boot and get yourself in a boot that can flex and can let your foot function how it's intended to function. So that's probably one of the biggest examples that we see talking with people. But I mean, if you're like above tree line hunting mule deer, like, yeah, a little bit more aggressive boot is going to be the way to go compared to if you're hunting elk. Get like a mid flex, get like a 3 out of 5 or 2 out of 5, something like that. That's going to let you cover country, still give you that support, but allow your foot to move and function. So just looking at a boot, depending on what kind of hunting you're doing, is probably the biggest key advice. Get a good sock, a good merino wool sock or a tri-blend that can help wick some moisture away from your foot so you're not getting blisters, and get yourself into a good boot depending on what kind of hunting you're doing.
Yeah.
Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Exactly what I was kind of getting towards, because my buddy, he turned me on to Darn Tough socks for the same kind of reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't think about the socks as often as you probably should, just like you don't think about the insole, like you said, the rigidity of the boot that you have. And so those things are all important. So I just wanted to pick your brain on that.
So following in prep, and I mean, what do you do to get ready to go on a high mule deer hunt?
Me?
Yeah, you.
So, yeah, scouting's the first thing we usually do. We'll just go out and we'll do some scouting. For me, I have never been it's always been a high country mule deer hunt for me. I haven't really got into like the low country stuff. Some guys just crush with low country mule deers. That's probably the most intriguing thing for me. Sorry, that's a tangent. But we just scout it out. I find a good basin that has some good feeding. And then on the backside of these ridges, it has some good dark timber for bedding. That's like first thing that I'll scout out on maps, try and find water sources. But I mean, that's usually the deer find water wherever they're at. So that's not a big deal. So we mostly just look for shelter. And once we find good feeding and bedding habitat, then we just go up and scout it. And then it's pretty clockwork. If they're not in that basin, you just move around. That's key once you're up high, is not just focusing on one basin. I think it's just moving, because you're already on ridge lines. So just move, keep checking, and then they're going to be within the next few basins pretty much all the time. So that's usually how we do it. We've got our spots now that I've hunted my whole life. So it's a little bit easier. We know where they're going to be, and that's how we go about it.
That makes a lot of sense. And I want to talk about something that's a question that kind of transcends business and hunting. So, David and I have seen this over the years, and I'm sure you have as well. Your work ethic in hunting and your work ethic in business is going to determine whether you're successful or not. So can you talk about just kind of how working hard at the hunting aspect, the preparation, and also working hard on the business side with the marketing, the preparation, the planning, how all those things kind of sync together for you in your hunting and in your business?
So I think the most important thing is just working hard, what you touched on, for anything in life. Before I started Sheep Feet, I had started another company, and it was doing very well, but I wasn't like passionate about it. So we grew it. We did everything we needed to. And I just wanted to do something that was more exciting to me. So then it went to going to work all day, then in the evenings, building a website, just like grinding until bed, and then waking up and then doing it all over again, work to grinding. So hard work, I think, is key in all of that. It's just saying like, well, what can I do that if you ever say to yourself, yeah, I want to do this because it sounds easier, you should probably do the other thing that doesn't sound easier, and you're going to come out on top 100% of the time. Example of that is I just did that this weekend, actually. Last weekend, I was up scouting a couple new basins that I'd never been into where we hunt. And I got into these 2 basins, and it was awful. I didn't even see a deer. And I had camp on my back, so I ridge walked, and I went probably around 10 miles. So it was probably like 6 or 7, and checked out like 3 or 4 other basins. Didn't see a deer the whole time. But I now know, like, I found out a cool spot where one place that I get to, there's an easier way because I went into a different basin to get into this spot that usually takes me like 4 miles to hike into. So it sucked. It was the worst, but I ended up learning some things just because I put more work in. And it's the same with business. If you have a dream or a goal, like, just put work in, you're going to learn things along the way. And even if that doesn't pan out, it's going to tailor and it's going to tie right in with something going on down the road.
So what is one of your favorite hunting memories?
Oh, favorite hunting memories. I don't know, dude. There's a lot. Probably my favorite hunting memory is all growing up as a kid. Like I said, we were pretty waterfowl like crazy. And all through school, once it was duck season or goose season, if it was stormy, my dad ran the orthotics lab, so he's a business owner. It was his company, so he was pretty flexible on his hours. I would just look outside, and if it was a stormy day, I could pretty much count on at like 12 o'clock getting checked out of school. And he would just take me out of school and we would go duck hunting. So all growing up, it's always been the one memory that stuck with me. Like, even all my teachers, like the intercom would boop, boop, boop. And then they'd say, we're checking Caleb out. And I'd already have my bags packed, like leaving the classroom.
You'd already been looking out the window and seeing the snow flying.
Dude. If it's stormy, the wind's blowing, I'm looking at the flag and it's like, okay, it's on. And then just like getting home, just pissed if my dad didn't check me out. But those are probably my biggest memories. Teachers being pissed off and then just getting out of school to go duck hunting all the time.
Man, that sounds good. My dad, he never got me out of school to go fishing, so I'm gonna have to talk to him about that. Be like, Dad, on those nice days, why didn't you come get me to get out of school to go fishing? But that's okay. So tell us a little bit about some of the big plans, some of the big plans you have for hunts this year. It sounds like you got a kind of a cool tag here in Wyoming, but yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I was banking on Montana for my deer elk combo, and I had 3 points in 2 or 3, I can't remember, and I didn't draw, which I was like banking on that. But I did end up drawing my Wyoming antelope tag, so I had 7 points. I'm super excited about that. Which, Dave, I'll be using the bow spider on that. I'll probably hook it just right to my bino harness because I'm going to do spot and stock on that on some goats. I'm really excited about that hunt. Never shot a goat. It's going to be super fun. And then I drew a deer tag in Wyoming, so that should be a lot of fun. And then I have my Utah deer tag, which is my favorite hunt ever. So those are my hunts. I didn't get an elk in this year, so I'm a little bit bummed, but I'll get it on other years.
Well, on the antelope, I can't give you a ton of spot and stock advice. I've done it a few times, and I enjoy taking my kids and sitting in the blind over water and killing those things. So it's a little unfair. It's almost like cheating when they walk 7 yards away and start drinking water. But when you have 5 and 6 year old kids in the blind, their eyes get this big around, and
yeah.
But definitely one thing I will say with the antelope is come out of the sun. Have the sun right behind you for sure. Wind isn't as important, but visually is way important. So I've seen guys use cow decoys. Decoying can work a little bit, but I'd rather just get in the heavy sage and try and maneuver on them.
Yeah. And Wyoming is so freaking good about that antelope tag that you can bow hunt it and then rifle hunt it. So I love that I'm not going to be stressed out. It's like, hey, I'll just go have the time of my life, out and stalk some goats. And if it doesn't work out, I'll come back with a rifle. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, Wyoming is really cool that way. You get some extra bang for your buck, right? So hopefully you're successful in that. So let's change gears just a little bit. So after you go hunting and when you go and do these cool hunts, what's your favorite meal to prepare, whether it be mule deer, elk, whatever it is? Tell us how you prepare that.
So we butcher all of our meat. Elk is my favorite, and we are big hamburger people, me and my wife. So we'll bring it back. We'll usually get some like a pork shoulder and mix in with it to give a little bit more fat and with the leanness. And then we just hamburger. We'll cut out all the good steaks. We'll do our back straps. We'll do some of our rounds, and we'll cut out our good steaks in the meat. But then everything else is hamburgered. And we do, during the winter, we do soups, we do tacos, everything. I love pressure cooking in the pressure cooker and taking an elk roast. We usually leave a handful, but then pressure cooking an elk roast is banging. It's so good. And it just falls apart. So that's favorite too.
Have you ever heard of the book Buck, Buck, Moose by Hank Shaw?
No.
Okay, well, you got to go out and you got to buy that book. And you got to try some of his. He's got he does a lot of stuff with like roasts and whatnot for like deer, elk, just different types of venison. Dude, that guy is money. We had him on the podcast. He's got some amazing recipes, and all the things you're talking about. You should check it out before you go hunting, because there might be some things in there that maybe you want to leave, like, you know, a whole shoulder or something. He's got some stuff where you can just peel it right off the bone. It just falls apart. It's money. So you'll have to check that out.
I need to. Has he written one for Duck and Goose?
Yep.
A book?
Yeah, Duck, Goose.
So I've read that one, which is phenomenal. So I'll have to read the Buck, Buck, Moose.
Yeah, he just came out with one for fishing. It's called Hook, Line, and Supper, and it's got some, because I'm big into the fishing side, so I'm geeking out over all these recipes. We just got all that salmon in Alaska, and I'm like, well, I'm going to try this recipe, this recipe, this recipe. So, yeah, check him out. It's good stuff. Really good stuff.
Yeah, I'll have to, because his waterfowl recipes and just teaching you how to cook it properly, dude, it is, if anyone hunts waterfowl, they need to read that book, because it goes from a lot of people saying it sucks to it is amazing.
Exactly.
And I love it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I would say all of his cookbooks should be required reading. He has one on small game too. It's like pheasant, cottontail, quail, or quail, pheasant tail, something like that. But it's good stuff. So yeah, check that out for sure.
Well, before we move on from food, we got to cover High Mountain Seasoning, one of our sponsors. And have you got to use any of High Mountain Seasoning stuff yet?
I have not.
All right. Well, they're based right here in Riverton, and they have some great. They have a seasoning for anything from burger to fish to jerky, homemade jerky kits. So they really, I mean, Patrick and I have done homemade bacon with them from pigs we've raised to, we just did salmon. We've actually got a video on the website of doing smoked salmon with High Mountain Seasonings. And it was, the thing I was shocked about is we had the Alaska brine from High Mountain Seasoning, and then we had the gourmet, and then we had my dad's family recipe, and then we had a recipe I picked up and kind of tailored while I lived there. Now, our kind of home recipes were a lot more brown sugar based, but they're still good. By no means were they bad, and the Alaska recipe from High Mountain Seasoning was decent. But man, that gourmet on sockeye salmon fresh out of the Kenai River, I don't think it's gonna get any better than that. That
was some of the best stuff that we've made for sure. It was excellent. And we smoked it with applewood, which was awesome. So you can go to himtnjerky.com to check out High Mountain Seasonings. Again, like David said, they've got kits for just about anything you want to do, including waterfowl. So, you know, Caleb, if you're wanting to pick up some of their waterfowl seasonings, you can do that. I really like all the fish ones. David does a lot with, you know, the jerky for elk and deer and antelope, and there's lots of great steak seasonings. You can do just about anything you want. So check out highmountainjerky.com when you get some time. So I kind of want to jump into this a little bit. How do you balance running a company and getting to do the things you love? Because I know from experience, so does David, so do you. Running a company will suck every second out of your life if you let it. So how do you balance that so that you can enjoy your life, but also have a successful company?
The correct answer is I don't balance it. As much as I love having a company in the hunting industry, it sucks every ounce of time out from us. We do all of our production in-house here in Utah. Everything's handmade in the USA. So it is very time consuming. It's a labor intensive process. So on the production end, it's about 3 weeks manufacturing. And when we hit our busy season, high production volume times, which is right now, 3 to 4 months before this, it's pretty much just been nonstop, trying to stay ahead of orders. So, I mean, it's like 12-hour days most days. When employees leave, we're here picking up the slack through the evenings to just try and keep everything ahead so that I can hopefully get some time to hunt. Even this year, like I got out scouting one time so far, which sucks. Whereas before it was like, yeah, I'm out almost every weekend, like 20, 25 weekends out of the year, I'm out scouting and hunting. So it's really, really hard. And it just comes down to, I just got to put more hours in front of hunting season to be able to hopefully have some time when hunting season comes. So just pans out to just work more, I guess.
We get that. We've seen Dad go in and out about 24 times. We're still working.
I know. I was hoping to be able to be home so I could be in a quiet place for the podcast, but we're just Mondays are our busiest days from the weekend, just getting everything caught up on. So it's like, I got to just take it from here.
Well,
I'm way behind.
I appreciate you taking your time and coming and getting this done. And to attest to how busy he was, I wore my sheep feet out after right at 3 years, right? 2.5 years, but I wore them every day and at trade shows. And then I talked to you and I talked to your dad and sent them in, and these guys in a week turned around and resurfaced my sheep feet and got them back to me. So I'm probably getting you a little bit of hot water with somebody that wants their sheep feet resurfaced, but no, they're brand new.
No, not at all. Restores are usually like a week and a half for everyone. So that doesn't get us in hot water at all. If you send them in, and that's where we tear off the cushion and we recover it with brand new cushions, so it's like good as new.
They're
that's
brand new, and
that's pretty quick. That's usually like a week and a half is all.
Well, it was a really bad week and a half for me, I'll tell you that, because I ordered a second pair for Father's Day. My wife, that was my gift for me, was my second pair of sheep feet for Father's Day, and they were like, you guys are however many weeks behind. I'm not going to throw you under the bus, but I didn't have those yet. And then I was like, you know what? These other ones need resurfaced. Here, resurface these. So I was hoping to have my Father's Day pair so I could send my others in, but I will be taking both pairs with me everywhere I go from now on. My hunting boots just go in the truck, my other shoes, and I've got them.
That is honestly the best way to do it. Like, this is my company. I still only have one pair of orthotics that I just rotate around with. I just love these ones, so I slide them into all my shoes. But I have got like to the mountain and realized I never switched them out from my work shoes, and it's miserable. So that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I worked on concrete floors for a number of years, and I didn't have custom orthotics, and now I'm kicking myself because, I have foot pain and knee pain and whatnot from those years of standing on a concrete floor with, no extra, protection, orthotics, that kind of thing. So it is a big deal. And I do want to say I appreciate that you guys make them all, here in the U.S. And it's not just a canned one size fits all type deal. You guys are making sure that it's customized to each person to meet their needs, to help take care of their feet, and you're accessible so that if they have questions, they can call and they can say, hey, what about this? Maybe how should I do this differently? Or this isn't quite working right in this boot. What kind of adjustments do I make? I just want to commend you on that, because a lot of companies don't do that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. We definitely take a lot of pride in being just 100% handmade in the USA, and helping our economy. But it's kind of the only way that we can ensure that the quality is where it needs to be on the orthotic, and because it's corrective and it's kind of a big deal. Yeah, we do everything here to make sure that every single one is where it needs to be. So
how much plaster are you going through now? Semi-truckloads?
So much plaster. so much. Yeah, a lot. And dude, they're like a year and a half ago when the shortages were hitting, that was the hardest thing to get was plaster. And so it was like we were ordering it from anywhere just to get pallets here to be able to pour them and make them.
And so for anybody out there that doesn't know, you're going to, if you go to get sheep feet, they're going to send you an impression kit. Go watch the video of how to take the impressions. Caleb does a great job. But you're quickly going to take your impressions, do it right, watch the video. It's really best to have somebody help you, but you're going to have, a box with your 2 feet impressions in it, kind of like a Bigfoot track, right? And you're going to ship it back to Caleb, and he's going to pour plaster in there and then completely form fit that pair of orthotics to your feet. Just switching gears, if you could pick one person to go hunting with, who are you taking?
Oh my, like anyone or what?
Yeah. Anybody.
Probably Fred Bear. I'd probably go hunting with Fred Bear.
I like that.
That would be the dream.
Yeah.
That was like my idol growing up. I've shot a bear bow my whole life, except for this year. I just switched. But for the sole reason that just Fred Bear was my idol.
What'd you switch
Started
to?
bow hunting when I was
Hoyt. Okay. Well, that's a Utah company. Yep. Understandable.
Local company. Figured I'd start supporting a local company. So switched to Hoyt. But before that, it was just, I always shot a bear. Fred Bear was the idol. Started bow hunting when I was 12. And it would definitely be Fred Bear because just the knowledge he has would just be insane.
That's a good answer. So I guess the next thing is, what's on the horizon for sheep feed? I mean, what are you guys working on? What's kind of the future plans?
Yeah, the future plans, I guess the overall plan is just to become the overall expert and trusted authority with feet, as weird as that sounds in the hunting industry. So we got some really big things on the horizon that I'm not going to share at this time, but we are going to be bringing on a bunch of products next year that are overall just in that realm. We'll be coming out with some really nice hunting socks, like I talked about earlier. Some really cool, they're quad blends. So some different things that are going to help out on the mountain.
Where do you guys follow to get along and find out about all these new products?
Where do we follow?
Where was somebody, if they wanted to keep tabs on Sheep Feet for the new products? Where do they follow along?
Yeah, just we do a lot on Facebook and Instagram. So our handle is just Sheep Feet Outdoors, and so you can check us out there. The website, there's a newsletter at sheepfeetoutdoors.com. You can sign up for that, and you'll be there. So we'll be coming out with new products, new deals, everything of that sort of thing, and we'll be announcing everything on there.
So in business, what is one piece of advice you wish somebody had given you earlier on?
So I had this piece of advice, and it's a quote that somebody told me, one of my mentors, a little bit later, but it's all 2-letter words, and it is, if it is up to me, if it is going to be, it is up to me. And so that's just something that's always stuck with me. If it's going to happen, you're just going to have to make it happen instead of relying on other people. So many times throughout my journey before, like with business and different things, I relied on other people to get things done and didn't happen. So it just always is, you just need to definitely say, I'm going to have to do this, take the reins and get things done if you're going to have it done.
All right. That sounds like sound advice to me.
Last question.
We're going to let you go. When's the hair getting cut?
The hair is getting cut. I have no future plans of cutting the hair. Probably a year would be my guess. I'll probably go another year and then cut it. I was going to cut it before the hunting season this season, but not decided I'm not going to.
I don't know
one
if
more
I
year,
can.
we'll see where it gets.
I don't know if I can challenge you to a gentleman's challenge because I don't know if I can go another year on this beard. I don't think I could do it. And I definitely, I can't do the hair. I'm pretty envious. I've always wanted a nice golden locks. So if you get a chance.
Well, this is the last hurrah. This is the last hurrah due to the thinning. So once this is done, I'll be short forever.
Well, mine just sticks straight up and goes crazy. It's not curly, but it never lays flat. So, well, we really appreciate you, your product, your company. Thank you for taking the time to come on here. We'll put all the social handles in the show notes so people can get a hold of you, and just keep rocking it, man.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a blast. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for coming on, Caleb. It's been good.
Good luck hunting, and send me some big buck photos.
You too. Good luck in Alaska.
Yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow, so we'll see.
Lucky dog.
Some of us got to work, right? I'm calling it work. It's work, Caleb. You got to figure that out.
Yeah. One day I'll be able to do it.
I'll join in if I can.
Thanks again for listening to the Radcast Outdoors podcast. We hope that you've enjoyed the show. If so, please go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this podcast and subscribe, share, and give us a 5-star rating, which really helps other people find the show. You can find all of our shows, recipes, giveaways, videos, and much more at radcastoutdoors.com. While you're there, please help support the show by purchasing a Radcast Outdoors shirt or hat. Please don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We also have a Radcast community on Facebook called Radcast Nation, and we'd love for you to join in the conversation there. And of course, please help support our sponsors who make this show possible. Thank you again to PK Lures, Bow Spider, and High Mountain Seasonings. Until next time, get out there and enjoy the outdoors.